Today's follow along handstand class is intermediate level. So we're going to work tuck, straddle and pike handstand entries. So jumping through those movements to the handstand. Now I'm going to show variations against the wall and freestanding. Now for these drills you do need to have some experience on your hands. You should be able to enter the handstand through kicks at least. So being able to enter the handstand consistently through a kick up for repetitions and be playing with heel pull to freestanding and show some sort of control there for around 5 to 10 seconds. You can still do some of the drills if you're not that level, but to get the most value out of it, having some freestanding control will make a big difference. So first, make sure you're nicely warmed up. So some wrist prep, some circles, some peels. Just make sure that the hands are nice and happy to have lots of weight in them. Open the shoulders up in some way. So you could use thoracic mobility on the foam roller. It could be the lat tri stretch or shoulder opening. Just make sure the toes are pushed into the floor, hips down top of the knees, and you're up onto fingertips, looking towards the fingers. And then we'll set the timer off for a conditioning hold. So I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. Now this could be totally freestanding if you have that, or it could be chest to wall handstand. You could be back to wall in a split position. Just try and stay in that handstand for 60 seconds. So let's go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, timer's on. So like I say, it could be this chest to wall position like this. There, you could be stepping off the wall or toe pulling off the wall into freestanding, or you could be in the middle of the floor, holding there for the time. So really just finding an efficient position. So these conditioned holds should be comfortable. Ideally, you should be able to hold a conversation in the positions. If you struggle with 60 seconds, just come down before the 60-second timer goes off, but go into like a body line position or do some sort of mobility that takes you towards that handstand line, just so you are working conditioning. And if you are only holding for about 10-20 seconds, you need to step back to slightly easier variation, slight regression of your conditioning hold, because ideally you'll be holding there for the time. And just being able to hold a conversation shows that it's not like your 1 rep max as well. So that's the 60 seconds gone, and then slowly come back out. Now let's just open up the hips a little bit more. So we're just gonna go into a twisted pigeon position. So I'm gonna go into 90 degrees, take this leg over the top, and then sit there. I'm gonna hug this leg. So I'm going to turn the timer off, take this shoulder to that knee, and then if I can, take the right shoulder to the right ankle. So just pull them into that position. Nice, and then the same on the other side. Now if you are tight on these positions, if you need more rest, just pause the video and do longer rest positions. And obviously you can swap these out for a different stretch. It's the same in the app. I'm trying to give as many options as I can, so you can click that little button at the bottom and that will give you different variations of the exercise to make it easier or harder, or you could swap it out for a completely different one if your flexibility demands or needs are different. Okay, now let's think about loading through the hands and through the shoulders. So I'm just going to go into a kneeling position. I'm going to place my thumbs by my knees, and then I'm just going to open it up, trying to put as much weight into the hands and shoulders as I can, and then come back down again. So 5 repetitions there. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next, we want to spend a little bit of time in the tuck handstand position. So we could kick up to straight freestanding, pull down to your tuck, wherever that is, and then hold there. So 10 to 15 seconds in the position. Now, if you don't have that freestanding, go up against the wall. I'll be nice to you, or do it back to wall to start with. So there, take the butt back towards the wall, trying to keep the shoulders on top of the hands. And if you can, you could use that heel pull or use the fingertips to pull off the wall. Just try and stay in that tuck position, and then come back out to straight and come back down. So just around 10 to 15 seconds in that tuck position, and just see how everything feels. Then we just need to open the hips up a little bit more, this time towards straddle position. So I'm just going to do some easy Cossacks. So closed hip position. So by closed hip means I'm closing there, and I'm going to place the hands on the floor. So I can sit into the hip a little bit more. This is slightly easier than the upright version, and it definitely opens up towards that straddle handstand position. And then with that, standing straddle good mornings. So in a straddle position, send the hips backwards, take the head towards the floor, and then open the hip all the way back up again. Make sure you're fully open at the top. Come back down. You can play with the distance the feet are. The further you go apart, the deeper you're going to get for most people, but there'll be a sweet spot. Now I've opened those hips up, we can go towards the straddle handstand. So I'm just going to either kick up like we did with the tuck and then open to straddle, or I'll use the wall, exactly the same. See if I can go where I don't kick the wall. So same as the tuck, heels on the wall first, open to straddle, butt touches, then try and keep the shoulders on top of the hands, and then lightly push through the fingertips, and you should ideally be able to take the butt off the wall. A lot of people go into this position, so try and pike a bit more, don't arch through the low back too much. And then we just hold there again, 10 to 15 seconds, and then come back out to your straight position, either freestanding or heels on the wall, and then come back down. Then the forward fold position, so pike position. I'm just going to walk the hips backwards. I'm trying to get my belly onto my thighs. In that position, go as far forward as I can in that direction. I'm going to use a yoga block, so I'm going to put the block on the other side of my feet, and then I'm just going to try and pull my head towards my toes. Now I am adding a bit of dorsiflexion here, so pulling the toes back towards me instead of pointing. That does wind the calves up a little bit more. If you're not so flexible there, just pick like a single leg hamstring or a normal standing forward fold. So the idea is to try and get the torso as close to the legs as we can while lengthening the spine, taking the head towards the toes. Not head towards the knees. Head towards the knees will tend to round your back too much. You want to think about lengthening the spine as we do this one. And then for most people, the hardest version that we're going to do today in terms of positions is the pike or the 7 handstand. So from that straight position, taking the hips backwards, opening the shoulders as best you can as you take the feet to roughly parallel with the floor. 10 to 15 seconds there. Again, use the wall if you need to. You might need to turn the hands out a little bit with this one, be a little bit further away from the wall. And then same thing, butt to the wall, try and keep the shoulders on top of the hands. You'll notice my voice is going to go a bit funny with this one because it's much harder. And then come back out, heels to touch at the top. Now some of you might struggle with that one. You can tell I'm out of breath just getting into the position. So you can bend the knees a little bit and have sort of like a semi position in between the tuck and the pike position. Next, let's mimic the tuck jump, but laying on our backs. So I'm going to put my hands on the wall. So in that position there, like I'm in a handstand, imagine the wall's the floor. I'm going to bring my knees to my chest, toes to the wall, and back again. So you can go slower or faster with this one. Slower is a bit better, and you can really work on that spinal articulation, the posterior tilt there, and trying to get as flat in that top position as you can. If you do go fast and you need a bit of momentum, just be careful you don't smash into the wall. And also, option is to put your hands down by your side. Okay, now the eccentric jump. So first, freestanding version. I'm going to kick up, freestanding handstand, knees towards chest into tuck handstand, deep, come all the way down to the floor. So I'm passing through that tuck position. So straight, tuck, through the tuck, into the catch at the bottom. Now here you can see I've put weight back into my feet. Ideally at the bottom I'm going to keep weight into my hands. So let's go again, exactly the same. Through the tuck, roll through the back, to the floor, keep weight in the hands. Remember, it's a jump, so we don't want to go too slow, but with the eccentric we can slow it down, teach the body the pathway, and then for the concentric we'll jump up quicker. Same thing against the wall. Let's not make it too pressy though, so I'm not going to put my back and shoulders against the wall. I'm going to kick up, touch the wall, come down. If I need to, I can frog, come down to there, try and keep some weight in the hands. Same again. So I'm just using the wall from a balance point of view, not to help me with like the eccentric. That's what we would do for the press. This is the jump. Then back onto the floor, exactly the same as we've done with the tuck, but this time I'm going to do the straddle. So here, pass through straddle, make sure I don't kick the wall, kiss the wall at the top, come back through the straddle, back down again. Now again, you could use momentum, you can have your hands on the floor if you need to, trying to roll, keep the feet as close to the floor as possible throughout the movement.
Then exactly the same eccentrics, but this time with the straddle, passing through straddle, landing on the floor, keeping the weight in the hands. Go again. So not too slow, but controlled. Same but using the wall, so start with the heels on the wall, pass through straddle, land, shoulders still on top of hands. Now back to the floor, you guessed it, the pike version. So straight body, push the low back into the floor, try and get toes to the wall, slowly back. Try not to arch the low back in that position. Remember, if you're not so flexible, use a little bit of froggy knees bent and have like a hybrid between the tuck and the pike. But ideally it would be straight legs, squishing at the top. Same again, but freestanding, so straight position, send the hips backwards, keep the shoulders on top of the hands, bend the knees at the bottom, keep the shoulders on top. Remember, it's not a press, so don't go super slow. Same against the wall, heels touching, send the butt back, bend the knees. Then rest as much as you need to, and then we'll try the concentrics. So with the concentrics, hands, shoulders on top of the hands. Now with the jump, I need to try and keep the shoulders still there. I'm not a big fan of doing this and then jump in, because we're going to go in that direction. I want you to jump directly on top of the base. So hands, shoulders, and then I'm going to jump the hips on top of the shoulders, put the feet on top, and back down again. So you notice there my legs are apart, so I took the flexibility demand away and create more space, so no restrictions on the way up. But I can do the same thing, keeping the legs together, shoulders on top, bend the knees, pass through tuck into the handstand, back down through the eccentric, shoulders on top of the hands. Again, if we need it, we can do it against the wall, just using it for balance, so make sure you set up with the shoulders on top, bend the knees, go up. If you need to, use the wall, pull back off, get the bonus eccentric on the way down. And then you could stick with that, do multiple repetitions of the tuck, or do the same with the straddle. So shoulders on top, bend the knees, keep the shoulders on top, jump, pass through straddle, finish in the straight, pass straddle on the way down, finish, shoulders still on top of hands. Freestanding version, but be careful not to kick the wall. Pass through straddle, and back down, use the wall if you need to, come back down. Now notice when I jumped on both the straddle and the tuck, my feet are in exactly the same place. A lot of people think with the straddle jump that you have your feet wide when you land or where you take off. Jump from exactly the same position, it's just your legs go out as you jump, pass through straddle, same on the way back, but you land with feet shoulder width apart, which is your natural jumping position. Now if you struggle with these, just do as many eccentrics as you need and tie in some attempts of the concentrics. So you might try and fail and then kick up and come through slow eccentric and then even try again on the way back up. So you're teaching yourself the path, and every time you fail, just do an eccentric and then repeat the attempt of the concentric. And then the fun one, let's go through pike. So shoulders on top of the hands, same start position, bend the knees, legs go straight, finish in the straight handstand at the top, hips go back, shoulders down top of hands, come back down, same finish position. Again, you can play around with those legs being apart slightly, slight bend in the knees, whatever you need to get the concentric, try and get the clean eccentric. Same with the wall assist, it's there if you need it from a balance point of view, shoulders on top, bend the knees, pass through straight, you might hit the wall at the top, pull back off, slow eccentric down, finish in your start position for the jump. And then if you're ready for a bigger challenge, start to combine them. So I can do a tuck jump to handstand, come back down, a straddle jump, and then a pike jump. So I got the reps then, they weren't super clean, so I could then work on the the tidying up, the refining of each of the movements, because I can always do the repetitions. Now all these follow along videos are in my app, as well as programs working towards specific skills. I'm updating and adding new content every few days. Link down in the description with all the details. Now if you have the app already and there's any specific skills that you'd like to work towards that aren't in the app, let me know and I'll make sure I add them as soon as possible. Links are all down in the descriptions, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks guys.